And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Troy David Phillips here at Flashback Comics in Woodbridge, Virginia. Last time out, I talked about the top 5 DC storylines that have just been in my mind and in my heart for all time's sake. Today, I'm going to continue my top 5s, and I'm going to talk about 5 of my all-time favorite independent comics. My independent tastes run up and down the gamut, all across the ages, and there are a great many books which are fantastic, and I don't want to omit anybody, but if I have to pare it down to 5, and if I have to pare it down to my 5 favorites, then here we go. So, you may have yours, your mileage may vary, this is my mileage. In no particular order, I'm going to start off with one of my all-time favorite independent superhero titles, and this is The Thunder Agents. The Thunder Agents was drawn artwork by Wally Wood and scripted by Len Brown. Interestingly enough, Len Brown is also the name of one of the main characters of the Thunder Agents. The Thunder Agents were a superhero team under the auspices of the United Nations, and the series from Tower Comics ran bi-monthly for 20 issues. They were double-sized books. They were 25 cents when most other books were 12 cents. So you got more pages, you paid a little bit more. The higher cover price might have had something to do with the demise of the book, considering its 3-year run. The Thunder Agents featured a small cast of characters: Dynamo, No Man, Lightning, Undersea Agent, and the Raven, as well as the Special Agents. There were 3 of them, and they would participate in the adventures. Usually, the anthological nature of the book was several short stories, and then the characters were brought together in one larger story. If you have the opportunity to pick up this classic from 1966, I strenuously recommend the beautifully illustrated Thunder Agents by Wally Wood from Tower Comics. The Thunder Agents had gone on to be published by other people, and there actually was a 2014 Thunder Agent series, sort of an anniversary piece. So there's plenty of stuff, old and new, to have from this signature superhero team. Outside of superheroes, one of my all-time favorite independent books actually came from the publisher First Comics. Now, this was written by John Ostrander and drawn by Timothy Truman initially, and it was amazing. The book was called Grimjack. Grimjack was a character, a science fiction themed character that grew out of the Star Slayer series as a backup feature and eventually spun off into its own book. Ran for 81 issues, if my memory serves me correctly, from First Comics. Ending in 1991, we saw Grimjack return in a series of limited series from Timothy Truman and John Ostrander over the years. Maybe you saw the 6-issue series, The Manx Cat. In addition to the main book, Grimjack had a graphic novel, The Demon Knights. Long story slightly shorter is that the main character, John Gaunt, was a kid raised in the pan-dimensional nexus of Sinishore. Sinishore is a dimension that exists at the crossroads of all dimensions. Anything and anyone from anywhere can come here. John Gaunt, aka Grimjack, was thrown into the slave arena pit where he became a champion gladiatorial fighter. He fought his way to freedom, eventually became a soldier, eventually became a policeman, learned the rudiments of magic, never had the discipline to be a master spellcaster. But as Jack liked to say, in Sinishore, where all of the dimensional rules apply and none of them, a gun might work here, but swords work everywhere. So you would see magic, technology, you would see giant robots, you would see Cthulhu-like monsters, you would see all sorts of stuff. Grim, gritty, ultra-textured, character-driven stories. Grimjack from Ostrander and Tim Truman, First Comics, was amazing stuff. Strenuously recommend tracking that down if at all possible. Another one of my favorites from around about the same time period, this would be the early 1980s, roughly 1983, was Bill Willingham's Elementals. Bill Willingham's Elementals was published by Comico Comics, initially appearing in the Thunder Agents annual, the Justice Machine annual, which co-starred the Thunder Agents. The Elementals appeared as a backup feature. The Elementals would go on into their own series, published by Comico, Initially written and illustrated by Bill Willingham, Bill Willingham dropped away from the art chores, eventually becoming the sole writer, and the art chores would be passed on to other artists that he would handpick as time went on. The main four characters were four individuals who had died individually in horrific manners and were resurrected, each one representing one of the classic four elements. They pulled themselves together as a sort of superhero team in the 20th century, but they also became, by virtue of their publicity, they became pop stars. They became celebrities. Their identities were very well known, and they led the path, you could say, for other supernatural themed characters. Bill Willingham had a very well-constructed world going on here, so that all of the characters that actually had superpowers had some tie to the supernatural, some sort of magic or some kind of immortal. There is a version of Thor that appears in the series. The Inuit gods are represented. A great many characters all through mythological history are represented. The Elementals was absolutely fantastic. So if you haven't checked that one out, I would strenuously recommend that you pick that up. Now, that's a lot of stuff from the 1960s and 1980s. In more recent times, however, I have been over the moon about things published by Image Comics. And two of my favorite things, which will round out my top 5, one of which is Ed Brubaker's Fade Out. This is a fantastic Hollywood murder mystery. It's set in the golden age of Hollywood, and it is in the Brubaker style, very, very film noir. There is a laundry list of characters: the failed writer, the blacklisted writer, the murdered starlet, the studio executive, the terrible guy that works for the studio executive who knows where all the bodies are buried, etc. And each individual issue featured a 2 or 3 page essay on one of the notable scandals of Hollywood at that time. Ed Brubaker had a very good command of this stuff. There was an essay on Roscoe, aka Fatty Arbuckle, Errol Flynn, and the Little Rascals characters, the R Gang characters. A lot of these things just sort of giving you a prose history of Hollywood and what was going on. You could see how art imitated life. The Fade Out by Ed Brubaker from Image Comics is absolutely astounding. And one of my other top 5 favorite things of all time, believe it or not, is a science fiction story that has no fight scenes, no explosions, no car crashes, no gunfights, none of the types of ultra action that you would expect that I would like, because that's the kind of thing that I enjoy. The book was called Alex and Ada, and Alex and Ada featured the writing of Jonathan Luna. You may remember Jonathan Luna of the Luna Brothers. You might have seen things like The Sword or Girls. Well, Alex and Ada is the story of Alex, a programmer in the near future who is given a companion android, Ada. The story is about unlocking Ada's artificial intelligence. It's about accessing her higher consciousness and helping her develop an identity. It answers the questions of what is actually life, and it explores the relationship between Alex and Ada, between a human man and advanced technology. And there's a lot of social commentary that goes on with that too. How do people view this relationship? Through what lens do other people view this relationship? I don't want to spoil the ending for you, but it is absolutely fantastic. It has been collected in trade paperback form, so if you've never checked out Alex and Ada, strenuously recommend it. So, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Those are my top 5 independent things. By no means do I want to discount the fantastic things like Greg Rucka's Lazarus or Brian K. Vaughan's Saga. From the 1980s, there was Paul Chadwick's Concrete. There was Dave Sims' Cerebus. Certainly, a lot of us are fans of Eastman and Laird's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Stan Sakai is still giving us Usagi Yojimbo, and we still have Sergio Aragones giving us Gru the Wanderer. So many good things, but I had to boil it down, and there you have it in a nutshell. What are your favorites?